All right. In the interests of minimizing attorney fees, we need to get started. Let's get close to
Starting already?
I know it.
Yeah.
You weren't here to pick on before.
I told you to pick on Karen.
Oh, she was so good last month.
I know, I want her to come again.
All right. It is now 6:35, and the first order of business is the invocation. No one here. Well, anybody else like to do this?
You do, Mr. Mayor.
If you do, please rise.
Do I need to go to Do I need to go
Do you want to? No? Good, here. You want to-
speak into the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay. Dear Father, we ask thy blessing over this meeting as we gather to make decisions for our city. Give us the wisdom and the understanding of the issues. We thank thee for thy many blessings. We're grateful for this great country. And we say these things in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Betsy, will you mind leading us in the flag salute?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a roll call?
Councilmember Aaron Krantz. Councilmember Warren. Councilmember Zeitz.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Haggerty. Mayor Brown.
Here. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Before we go on, I'd like to make a motion that we add an urgency item to the agenda to review Assembly Bill 1217, which is what we just received today and is new legislation that will have an impact on our ability to effectively handle JPAs, and the League of Cities would like us to join them in vigorously opposing this. The documentation is here, and I've asked if Aaron would be available to give us a few comments on this, to tell us what it's about.
We're going to add that as what?
As agenda item 10.4. If you, without objection, you mind telling us a little bit
Yeah,
about
just
what's going
quickly,
on?
we received two items from the league today. One was regarding Governor Brown's by right housing proposal, and the second, which is the action alert, was Assembly Bill 1217, having to do with JPA authority, and the bill is looking at stripping their ability. Yes.
It's 10.4. Should we take it after
No.
10.3?
Well, we've got to vote on whether
If we're
to,
going to vote.
Yeah, I
instead.
think you're going to do it at the end.
Right. So
Right.
when you vote on it, it'll become item 10.4.
right. This is just to decide whether we want to add it.
Right.
Oh, okay. I'm
Votes to
sorry.
add
I mean, at the end of.
He's explaining why it's urgent.
Yeah, so
okay.
the league is asking for city participation because it's, apparently it's going to come to a floor vote soon. And it's basically, it's Orange County Fire Authority is the one helping the league with it. It's their situation. They're trying to, if you're aware of Orange County Fire, it's pretty much set up like a joint powers authority. They have members from, every member has an elected board member from their city on the Orange County Fire Authority. They're looking at trying to strip this down and for JPAs to have less local control. So whereas JPAs are necessary, I mean, where two government agencies come together to form a new one for a particular purpose, in this case with Orange County it's regarding fire, now the state's trying to tell them how to dictate how their elected board's going to work and what, the state's going to impose upon them.
Move to add 10.4 to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Yes, please. Can you explain the urgency as to, I'm not.
On that one, they're looking for, it says here, they're looking for the cities to add to basically add their logo for support.
If
If I may, the only reason I object is because the whole point of having this on the agenda and the packet goes out a week ahead of time so that the public gets a chance to decide whether they want to chime in, present, be here for it, discuss. I just want to make sure that the urgency actually matches the taking away of the public's opportunity.
The request came in today. I had a phone call, plus the email came in today. And because the action, if we wait till next month, it's too late.
May I speak? I think the city should definitely be included in supporting the opposition to this bill. I think it would be detrimental to all cities for Sacramento to drive the restructuring of JPAs and to take away power from the individual cities. So I would like to, can I move that we?
It's been moved
No.
already, and moved and seconded. It's just
To-
We're just moving now to
discussion.
put it on, then we'll discuss it.
Okay, so this is discussion, I'm
No,
sorry.
this is just
Just
discussing.
put it on the agenda.
Yes, yes. So I definitely think it should be on the agenda and be discussed.
Okay.
Okay, do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Get a roll call on this, please.
No.
This is just to add it to the agenda. When we, yes, if it's an item, then there'll be time to discuss the issue.
Councilmember Warren,
Can I abstain? I don't have enough. I abstain to have the opportunity that the public is supposed to have, not given to them. What? For tonight. Right. Okay. Okay, yes. Sorry. Okay, and if there's enough public participation tonight that we need to bring it back for further, then we can have a meeting in a week, or a meeting in 2 weeks, or something that brings more public participation?
It would,
That's a yes.
we'd have to depend, that would depend on what the league, what the urgency is with the league, and I can touch base with them tomorrow.
Right, and we don't know what the urgency
Right.
is. We don't know that we don't have
We know the
until-
legislative session ends August 31st, and
Yeah.
so I'm afraid that they're thinking this bill will be coming before them, and so they're asking for city support by using their logos on whatever information they're putting out and getting out to the members of both houses.
Yeah, I understand, and I support putting our logo on. And I will be a qualified yes? How does that sound?
Okay.
Councilmember Zeitz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Haggerty, Mayor Brown.
Aye.
That item will be added as now 10.4.
Thank you. Moving on, we have approval of the agenda with item 10.4 included. All those in favor? Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the city council agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on, special presentations and proclamations. Chamber of Commerce, do you have something to tell us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Wednesday, the 10th, at 11:30 in this room, we have a very good speaker, we feel. His name is Byron Wells, and he's California Crime Fight. He's been doing this for 23 years. We've had him before. It's been about 4 or 5 years ago. And the heading of his talk is "Laughter is the Best Weapon." And I've left some information back on the table if anyone's interested in picking it up. It'll be at 11:30 in this room, lunch. If you plan on attending, please let Allison know in the office. It's hard to cater something when you don't know how many people are going to be there. So on Tuesday, August 30th, the Sports Stop is hosting our chamber mixer. And then I got 2 items to mark your calendar on. 6th Annual Oktoberfest will be October 15th, 5 to 9 in the upper parking lot. And our 20th annual Parade of Frights is Saturday, October 29th from 9 a.m. till 12:30. And we're also working, I just met with a gentleman Saturday. We took some aerial shots of the plaza, and we're going to go back and put a directory together. Instead of having a map, we're going to have an aerial shot of the plaza. And it's not so much getting it out to our residents here, but getting it out to Audie Murphy, up the canyon, so other people know we're here and they come in and spend money. Thank you.
Are there any other proclamations or presentations that anybody's aware of? Having none, we'll move on. It's now time for public comments. Do we have any requests for commenting?
Yes. Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appear on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to the individual being heard by the city council. The city council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you are commenting on an agenda item, your comment will be heard at the time of the particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note, if you are addressing the city council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the city council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information, or request a report back, or give very limited factual response. Nancy Horton?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of EVMWD. The Canyon Lake Water Treatment Plant was closed in November for renovations. During these last few months, the basins were repaired and coated with an epoxy paint. The clarifier was sandblasted with 75 tons of sand and now painted. The walkways that were rusted and the ladders that were rusted have been replaced. The ultraviolet system to kill bacteria was put in about 3 years ago, but this year we have added an aerifier and a pump to take care of another chemical that has been discovered to be a problem, and that should work fine. The lake level is down 24 inches due to evaporation. It evaporates approximately 5 feet a year, so it's right on target. The lake quality and the clarity are extremely high. Beginning soon, the Canyon Lake Water Treatment Plant will start treating water again, so you will notice the water level going down a little quicker than evaporation. But we have enjoyed a beautiful summer with the lake at its highest level that it has been in many, many years. The alum treatments have helped tremendously. We have now done 6 alum treatments. 5 were paid for by a grant from Prop 84, Chapter 2, and 1 paid for by the TMDL. The 14 cities and the 6 other entities like Caltrans, March Air Reserve Base, March Air JPA, and others have all agreed that they want to continue the alum treatment, so at least 1 treatment per year will be paid for through the TMDL. Alum has been found to reduce phosphorus, nitrogen, chlorophyll A, and to increase dissolved oxygen. It is not intended to kill algae. If it did, that would be wonderful, but we need to use algicides for that, and we don't have a permit, and algicides are very expensive, so that's not in the cards at the moment. But the alum treatments will continue, and they do reduce the algae. They don't kill it. So we're in very, very good shape. We have just took a boat ride through the lake over the weekend, and even in the East Bay, the clarity is amazing. Many of the coves are algae-free. A few of the coves do have algae in them. So we've enjoyed probably our best year in many, many years on the lake, and the sad truth is reality will start as soon as the treatment plant is back up and running. Thank you.
Nancy,
Go ahead.
can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
You have said that we can water again more often during the summer, but in today's paper, we talked about the fact that there may be more need to conserve water. And so while it's been so hot, if we keep pouring water on, what's going to happen? Do you just want to address that issue?
Right, okay, so we reduced our drought stage emergency from 4 B, I think, to 3A, allowing people to water now 3 times a week. It doesn't mean they can water whenever they want to. You can still use a hose as long as it has a shutoff to treat areas that are very, very brown that you want to prevent from dying altogether. You can wash your car in your driveway as long as you use a bucket and a hose that has a shutoff. But we're not allowing people to wash off their driveway, use a hose to wash spider webs off the side of their house or anything like that. Decks, all the decks are extremely dirty right now. Nothing we can do unless we get a monsoonal rain in this month, which could happen. So we are asked to conserve. And unfortunately, in today's paper, the figures from June came from every other district, but not EVMWD. And I asked why this morning at our meeting, and they said they don't know why. They responded to the request for information and got a postcard back saying that the information was received, but it wasn't published, and I don't know why. But we have to monitor June, July, and August very, very carefully. And Felicia Marcus, who is head of the State Water Board, is a little nervous at this point as to how people are going to respond. Are they going to go crazy and water everything in sight, in which case we'll be back under an emergency drought order by the fall. But the people who have removed their lawns and who are working hard to put in drought-tolerant plants and drip irrigation, we believe that they're not going to go back to lawns. So there's a net gain of a lot of conservation. And we're asking, the website and the water log and all the information that goes out says the same thing. Still conserve, because we are still in the 5th year of a drought. There's no end in sight that we know of.
I understand that Lake Elsinore is at not an all-time low, but a distinctive low. Is it true what I've heard, that they found Delta smelt there so we can get Delta water to be brought down and filled into Lake Elsinore?
Not true. The only thing they found was a phase of blue-green algae, and we had a phase of blue-green algae last year. I don't know why, but our phase was a brown color, and it did have the potential for cyanotoxins, so we did close the East Bay and put pink notices on everybody's dock. Now with Lake Elsinore, theirs is a green phase of blue-green algae. No blue, no white. And that has cyanotoxins potentially. So they've closed their lake, and we haven't heard when they're going to reopen it. But I can tell you that Canyon Lake was tested last month twice, and last Friday, I think, or maybe it was this Monday. We should have the results by this Friday. But just looking at the water, it is marvelous. So there is no concern about Canyon Lake. But an algae bloom can appear at any time. So actually it gives me a measure of comfort knowing that there is an organization that will come. Vicki and I tried last year, everybody that we knew, to come out and test Canyon Lake when the brown colored blue-green algae was there, and nobody would come. And now it's really great to know that we can call this organization and that they will come. And we can head it off before we have a really serious problem.
Nancy, before you leave, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You mentioned ability to water or to wash your cars in the driveway.
That's true.
We
That's
still-
a change.
We still have detergent issues, don't we, that people need to be aware of if they, I believe that you and the POA both have restrictions on what.
No rain, no, nothing down the drain but rain. So if you're using a detergent, you might, be careful that it's something like Simple Green that does not harm the environment.
Okay.
So you need to be careful about that as well.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Uh-huh.
You made the comment that when the facility is back running, you alluded to our water probably not being as clear as it is now.
No, the water will go down. The level will go down.
Oh, okay.
Once
I
they
thought you were
start
talking
treating the water again, we've enjoyed this high level of water, and I think that plays a great role in the clarity as well and the lack of algae blooms. But once we start using it, it will disappear as quickly as possible. They usually start at 3 million gallons per day, go to 5, try for 7 and try for 9 if they can keep the filters clean. since our water is so clean, I think they're going to be able to get there. The beautiful thing is, we've had 2/3 of our summer already. One more month, they're not going to be able to reduce the lake a tremendous amount. So we've had the best summer for water activities that we're going to get, which is a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there other speaker requests? Anybody in the audience want to say something about something that's not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Moving on to the consent calendar. Is there any items that anybody would like to pull from the consent calendar?
I'd like to pull 7.4.
Okay, pull 7.4. Any other items to be pulled? Okay, that being said,
I move approval of 7.1 through 7.3.
is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar, item 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
No, do you have-
We need a
Oh,
roll.
got a roll call. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Hagerty? Yes. Councilmember Warren? Yes. Councilmember Zeitz?
Aye.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Approved with item 7.4 pulled.
Okay,
Moving on to item 7.4. John?
well, Mr. Mayor, this is for the League of Cities meeting, and I believe you and I have had a discussion that we will just go to the League of Cities meeting since we're outgoing, that we'll just go on Thursday, and this meeting for voting is on Friday, and I don't think you anticipate being there, so to solve the problems, that we should probably have not appoint you as the voting delegate, but to the Mayor Pro Tem Dawn Hagerty, and I believe Councilmember Aaron Krantz is slated to be there for all 3 days, and so he could be the alternate. So modify it to be, take you out and put Mayor Pro Tem in, and take Dawn out as the alternate, and put Councilmember Aaron Krantz in.
Okay. Second that motion. Any discussion? Okay. Any comments from city manager? Okay, no discussion on 7.4. All those in favor say aye, as amended.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. So we've got that. They're going to be the voting members. Moving on to item number 8 on the agenda. Oh, that's pulled consent. We've already passed that one. Schedule of future events. Is there anything on here that anybody sees needs to be modified or discussed?
Is there a reason we have 9.8 on there still, when we no longer have a need for a fire startup committee?
Well, that'll be removed for the next meeting.
Okay. Also, at the last Veterans Committee meeting, we did not determine a date for the next Veterans Committee meeting. It just slipped our minds, so I will check my calendar later, and then, and anybody who's on that list will get notification.
So we will effectively pull 9.7 and 9.8 at this point.
There's no approvals needed.
Okay, no approval
Just
needed.
informational.
Okay. Moving on, business items. The first item is the report from Charles Abbott regarding trusted contractors for non-inspection of general installation building permits. Do we have a city manager's report?
Yeah, I have Jim Barrett here, who's the city's building official with Charles Abbott, and he'll be giving the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, it's an honor to be here tonight, and staff is coming forward tonight to ask the council to consider adopting a policy for self-certification for replacement of residential water heaters. I had a really nice PowerPoint put together, but we don't have a way to show it to you tonight, so we printed it out. So we'll go through that real quick.
I could stand here and hold it.
Is,
What's that?
I could hold it up so people could see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. They can look over my shoulder. I know you guys are not wanting to be here all night, so I've trimmed my presentation down to about 45 minutes. So,
Not funny.
okay, I'll keep it to 4 to 5 minutes. Just a little bit of history. Water heater are required per California Plumbing Code Section 103.1 to be permitted and inspected. The purpose of these inspections is to ensure it complies with the California Plumbing Code. We look for pressure relief valves installed properly and terminated in the right location, earthquake straps, proper venting and combustion air vents, clearance to combustibles for the heat vent, and then dielectric connectors. And what those are for where you have galvanized metal sometimes coming out and connected to copper, brass, there's dielectric electrolysis that can occur. And so we verify that the proper connections are made. So with that history, the question is, can the City of Canyon Lake Building and Safety Division allow self-certifications of water heater installations? And I think it'd be important to point out, I think that what that is for contractors, not necessarily homeowners. We have, licensed professionals that do this work. We did a survey of multiple cities in Riverside and San Bernardino County, and I'll read those off. We did Lake Elsinore, Riverside, Menifee, Moreno Valley, Beaumont, Banning, Calamasa, Fontana, Redlands, Highland, County of Riverside. The survey results is only the City of Riverside has a program for water heater self-certification. It's a very restrictive program where only certain contractors are allowed to take part in it. Speaking with the building official there, it's not widely used. There's very, very few contractors that are using that. All cities, though, do allow self-certification for smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and the state-mandated water conservation plumbing fixtures. And the purpose of this is it eliminates, say we're doing a re-roof or a block wall under state code, any project over $1,000 in valuation, they're required to do certain things like the smoke detector, CO2 detector, and plumbing fixtures have to be changed out to water-efficient fixtures. That would apply to alterations, remodels, even a solar installation. So most cities have allowed that the homeowner can certify that they have made that they've installed the smoke detectors, and we have a form that clearly outlines what they need to do, where it needs to be to comply with the state requirement. Some pro things for water heater self-certification: eliminates field inspection time, requires limited access requirements, and the contractor wait time can be eliminated or reduced waiting for a city inspector. Some of the cons related to water heater self-certification: there's a potential liability to the city in that we're not looking at water heaters. We're not performing that inspection to verify that it complies with state code. And we're the human factor. People make mistakes. We're there to, I've looked at a lot of water heaters over the years where just recently in another jurisdiction where I work, very reputable water heater plumbing company, and they had a junior person doing it, and they missed the dielectric connectors. The earthquake straps weren't secured into the studs, and through the self-certification program, if there's photographs or whatever, some of those things may not be able to be caught. That is a concern for us on that. I have some pictures here that, and I pulled these off the internet. I used to have some pictures, and they were somehow lost. But the first picture to the left, that shows a connection where there is no dielectric connector, and the same thing with the one on the right. And you can see that white scale. That is a sign of electrolysis. And in the next page, you can see it climbing up the pipe. What that can do is it corrode the pipe, cause water leaks. But my understanding is it also it can corrode certain things within the tank for safety, like your pressure relief valve or your temperature sensors. The one on the right there, that one's very entertaining to me. That was one where somebody put one in. It was a used one, and they kind of bootlegged it in. And the pressure relief valve wasn't working, and they didn't have a line running for it. So they took a 2x4 and propped it underneath the electrical connection for the water heater. It's an electric water heater. And they ran the 2x4 over the top of the pressure relief valve, and then took a wire and strapped it down so that the pressure relief valve wouldn't release. And then the next picture is a house. It's just an example of how dangerous a water heater is. I've got several pictures there that show some houses, water heater damage. And I think it's important to point out that inspecting a water heater isn't necessarily going to, we're not going to catch something where this water heater, most water heater failures are based on maintenance issues and misinstallation things that may not manifest themselves for many years. So it's very important that homeowners maintain, they require that they be, the manufacturer says you should drain them to get any sediment out. And so there's certain things that require that. But what we're doing is, by some of the things we're looking at, is hopefully catching some of these things that could cause a problem down the road. And then the black squares, I had a really neat video that we copied from Mythbusters, where they did, they took a water heater and they built a simulated 2-story house, put the water heater in the basement, and then capped it off and then increased the pressure on it. And at 325 degrees, it went off, and I think they said it was 85,500 pounds of pressure bursting out of the bottom of the tank. It went through the floor, and the roof was a 2x12 roof system, and it went right through the 2x12s and then went another 100 or so feet in the air. So water heaters are very dangerous. They are something to that that we need to be aware of, and it's an encouragement to the citizens to look at the manufacturer specifications and keep them maintained. But what we like to do is to be able to just minimize that risk by being able to inspect them. So as far as the contractor wait time, the changes with the Building and Safety Department, we feel that we've made a tremendous improvement on eliminating contractor wait time. Instead of having an inspector here 1 hour a day, and at various times, we've got an inspector stationed here pretty much 8 hours a day. And then we really try to work on the increased availability by allowing same-day inspections if necessary and working with people. And the reason is because we understand that contractors, when they bid a job, they bid a certain amount, and any time they have to wait and pay somebody to wait, it cuts into their profit. And we understand that. And if we make it difficult for them, it could become something where they don't get permits. And we want people to feel like it's not a problem to come in and get permits. So anyway, so that pretty much concludes my staff report. So I'm just asking council to consider that and decide which way they'd like staff to go.
Let me ask some question. What's the cost? If somebody wants to replace a water heater, how much are we charging them for the?
It's, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's like $80, right around that range.
Around $80
Yeah.
for the inspection, okay. And how many incidences have we experienced where there are problems in Canyon Lake associated with water heaters that are not been installed properly?
Well, I don't have enough history here to be able to qualify that, but I did just talk with our code enforcement officer, Jean Vauchal. She had a large number of pictures of different things that they have found. There was a software issue, and those were lost. Those were some of the pictures I was going to refer to. They actually were here in the jurisdiction. So I can speak to that, as a contract building official and working in multiple jurisdictions. It depends on the jurisdiction. If there's a lot of, we see unpermitted work that's done very well. and we see permitted work that's not. So it can go either way.
Well, do we, are we, you've shown pictures of houses blown up. Don't believe any of those are in Canyon Lake. Do we have any evidence of improper installation of water heaters here locally that have created problems for people?
When we bought our house, when we moved here and bought on the lake, we had to have the water heater reinstalled. It was horrible. So we had a private inspector come in and look at everything in the house, and that was the first thing he said. So yes, there are, I'm sure, a number of illegally and badly installed water heaters.
I'd appreciate your response too, but that begs the next question is how many water heaters are being installed without permitting? I know that I did one a few years ago, not here, but
I have no way to know.
any guesstimate? Part of my thought on this is if we self-certified it and made it simpler and cheaper, we would get compliance that at least people would read through the list of things that they're supposed to certify that they're aware of, rather than people going out and trying to do it themselves and not knowing, the problem with electrolysis and that type of thing. So, yeah. All right. Other questions?
Your naivety amazes me. I would not feel comfortable if the city extends the permit and does the inspection, then we are liable. If the person does it illegally, we are not liable. So I would feel much more comfortable. I don't trust people to always be entirely honest, especially when money's involved.
Well, the
if they can do it
self-certification process gets us off the hook by, they say, we did everything according to code, we signed it, we agree, that it was done properly.
Well, I don't want my neighbor blown through the roof, and I don't necessarily trust.
Well, I want to point out that,
People.
the pictures I showed, that's the extreme. But, wanted to make the point how dangerous a water heater is. A lot of times it's, some of the research I did online was looking at insurance companies. I couldn't find anything current, but back in 2008, an insurance agency group did a survey, and a large number of their claims were based on leaks from faulty water heaters. And that's one of their biggest, their biggest claim issues was that. So,
But isn't that,
actually, that's a maintenance issue.
but that's more of a maintenance issue than an installation issue.
Right, yeah, no, and I wanted to make that clear that maintenance is a very important part, but, I feel our part in, as the city, is looking at other issues to ensure that some of those maintenance issues don't become a problem later.
It's my experience with the things, though, that, the problems occur because of maintenance much more than installation, albeit, their problem.
Agreed.
And, how much are we inconveniencing the world when the real problem is that it needs to be they need to be maintained rather than worry so much about installation problems that probably don't, when I did it really wasn't that complex. Follow the rules and, anyway, I'm probably one of those negligent too, but I'll leave it at that. Any other comments?
I do have a question. It's more along the line of liability, and maybe our city attorney is going to have to help me with this, but if we circumvent the state of California and we allow our own self-certification instead, aren't we opening ourselves up to liability? If we're asking for this?
If you have a mandatory duty to inspect, and I'm not clear that you have a mandatory duty, but if you do, then you'll be liable if you don't perform that in the appropriate way. If you don't have a mandatory duty and you're simply negligent in doing the job, like a negligent inspection, you're not going to be liable, you're going to be immune under California law. It doesn't mean you wouldn't get sued, it wouldn't mean you have attorney's fees and nasty litigation, et cetera, but you should end up without a substantial monetary award for the damages. So it depends on how your ordinance is written.
And we don't know that at this point.
I don't know exactly how it reads. Do you think you have a mandatory duty? Does it say the city shall inspect?
Well, it says a permit is required, and then it outlines the inspection.
Okay, the permit is required by the water heater owner, right? The person,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
homeowner,
mhm,
property owner. So the person is required to get a permit, but I don't believe that the code, it shouldn't say, the city shall inspect. It should say, it is the job of the person who owns the home to get the permit and the inspection, and call for an inspection in order to. But that's
correct.
If you decide to proceed, then we will have to go look at your ordinance and deal with that issue.
That begs the question that you asked, Mr. Mayor, how many times do people do it without getting a permit? They sell it at Lowe's and Home Depot, you just go out, pick one up and put it in, and you don't get an inspection or anything else, and I don't know that many people are going to be concerned about wanting to get a permit if they can do that themselves.
A lot of times people don't know that they need a permit. I mean, hard to imagine that we live in California and people wouldn't think you need a permit for something, right? But one of the things we're trying to do through our service is make it easier, where it's not a matter of, as I think in the past, they call for an inspection, and they might have to wait all day. And we don't want to do that. We don't want homeowners waiting, and so we've tried to address it in that way to make it, decrease that wait time, and make it more convenient to do that allow us to inspect it.
Let me ask one other question. If an installation is done, the contractor's done with it, you need to inspect it, can you go out without the contractor being there? Can he?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We do that a lot. The only time it may be inconvenient if the homeowner's waiting, but we usually try to convey that if there's a homeowner waiting for us to come, let us know what time you're gonna be there. On some occasions, we don't do it a lot, but we can go before hours or after hours, try to help people out. Look, I can't afford to miss work and whatever's going on, and whatever the situation is, we really try to be accommodating. That's why we have an inspector here all day now, so to try to accommodate that.
Just one other little side concern, the way we're doing business, if the contractor goes away, wait a few hours, come out and inspect, turns out something wrong, do we ever experience situations where the homeowner's already paid the bill and now he has to fight with the contractor to get them to come back out?
It's usually not an issue. I mean, yeah, every once in a while there's a contractor says, I'm not coming back out, but I'd not have had that happen a lot. Usually we write up a correction notice and the contractor, comes in and gets it taken care of. We write very few corrections on water heaters that are permitted. The ones that we see is when we go out with code enforcement and ones that aren't permitted. Or I would assume they're not permitted. It may be an original installation, but it's hard to imagine, that's the ones, and we're trying to make it easy for the contractor so they will get a permit.
Again, my concern, and I'll shut up after this, is that I think we'd get more people who would fill out the form and do it semi-legally by self-permitting. I have to do all these things, I better make sure I've done them. And you'd get more compliance and more people who would be willing to come in and make sure they're doing it legally, rather than just doing it on their own and not knowing what they're doing. So I think there's a trade-off that you'd get more compliance, maybe, by insisting on less compliance. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way I kind of see the world.
I understand what you're saying, and that's a good possibility. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to move on to comments from the? Do we have anybody who signed up to comment? Anybody want to say anything about this issue?
Let me just ask another question to you. I'm sorry to drag it on a little bit, but if somebody builds a new home, and you sign off on that new home, is the water heater in the home when you
Yes.
do the final sign-off?
Yes.
But the stove and refrigerator, stove and burners and all that stuff may not be in the home, and you don't really care about that, just the water heater?
Those are appliances that people can, and a permit is not required
Yeah.
because they're not modifying, they use a UL-listed connection. If it's hard plumbed in through gas or through electric, then yes, we would look at that installation and that connection.
Any comments from the audience? Okay, we've had a chance to discuss this. Does anybody want to make any kind of a motion? I would like to, if not move, just suggest that we continue looking at this issue, though, and if it turns out that in wisdom in the future, that we would get more compliant, it'd be better off for the general safety to do some sort of self-compliance. You have more people following the rules. We might be better off that we take this back to the table again if there's any evidence to that effect. Any other thoughts on the issue?
I might just suggest that occasionally, I keep going back to this because hopefully people do read the Friday Flyer, that occasionally we list the requirements that are the city requirements for permits, and list water heaters, lawns, fountains above a certain height, fences above a certain height, whatever things there are, because the greatest pleading is ignorance. I didn't know. And if you publish it periodically, hopefully you'll get a few people that'll read it and go, oh, I didn't know I had to have a permit. To me, more information is better than less information, and that's something I would suggest.
Mr. Mayor, I get no response looking at the audience, looking at their faces, that they either understand or care about this whole subject to some degree. Just looking, I'm sorry, people, but that's what I read. And maybe we should table it for 30 days for the next meeting, and maybe we'll hear from Facebook and the Friday Flyer letters to the editor, people concerned one way or the other as to do that. I think at this point, modifying what we're doing, I put in my own water heater, and I didn't get a permit and all this stuff, and honestly, and a lot of other things. What bothers me to some degree is we're requiring that, but I can go in and rewire the inside of my house, and may know or not know what the heck I'm doing, and that's okay.
What's your address?
But
I'm on Emperor.
But again, the idea of self-certification gives incentive for people to do it right, where it's not onerous, it's easy to do, you just have to sign that you did it right, and, things that people do on their own, if they could self-certify, they're more likely to follow the rules, to see what the rules are and follow them. It's just a philosophical problem I have with the way we're doing business. Want to say something, Dave? Two speakers. Dave?
That's a good
that's
thing,
right.
Jack.
As far as, I know because I looked into it, I've got a water heater, believe it or not, that was installed in June of '92, and it's still going. But I've looked into it, and I know it, like you mentioned, Tim, as far as Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, if you go down there and buy a heater and have them install it and whatever, then they'll charge, they'll add the permit fee and whatever. A lot of people, I would say, probably are going to go, I don't want to pay the $80 permit fee, and they're going to go ahead and try to, have a plumber come out, go buy it and have pay a plumber so much to install it and whatever, so they can get around not paying the $80. That's the thing. If you have self-compliance, you're probably going to end up with, just like you said, you're going to end up with more compliance and less.
That's what
But
Yes,
it-
sir.
but it-
Jack?
like to see you guys at least.
Okay, Jack. That was it, Jack?
You didn't want to speak? That was great. Thank you,
Okay.
Jack.
All right.
Just have my water heater put in, but I have to put in my professional.
Okay. Don?
If people, if they're going to want to circumvent $80, they're not going to mess with the self-certification either. I mean, either they're responsible people that say, I want to do, well, I don't want to say people are irresponsible that do that, because some people don't know, some people know how to install them correctly, and they don't want to pay the $80. I mean, I get all that. I'm sure during my 57 years of marriage, my husband probably installed water heaters without a permit. My point being that if they're going to ignore the permit, I would think they would ignore the self-certification as well.
Any other comments? Well, again, as I said, I just wanted this to be discussed so we'd have a chance to talk about it, and if it makes sense, and then later on to pursue it more. I know, did you want to make a motion to table it officially, or?
I just thought I'd throw that out. I didn't get any response from,
Okay. Well,
I think, from what you said and all that stuff, and I don't think anybody took a look at this on the agenda to discuss it. And I just think to bring it back in 30 days, it's not going to be a big deal one way or the other for us. So I would make a motion that we table it for 30 days and bring it back after doing some notification, Friday Flyer, whatever, and then discuss it again.
Okay, do I hear a second on the motion? So moved and seconded to table this for 30 days for additional discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Been tabled. Moving on.
So all of those you who don't want to pay for it, go get it done this month before we come back.
Thank you for allowing me to discuss this one. I appreciate it. It's been bothering me for a long time. Moving on, next business item, cafeteria benefits, I believe.
Yes, council has asked me to bring this back. It's been discussed a couple of times, looking for direction where the council chooses to do nothing, leave it where it is, or change the amount. What's been proposed by staff was increasing it from $806 a month to $1350. That was built into the budget that was approved. It's approximately additional $26,000 a year to increase it to $1350. Talking to the finance director, Shay, it was not a problem when he put it into the budget, and like I said, we're still out of surplus. I know Mayor Brown also came back with a proposal of increasing it to $1125. So we're looking for finalization from the council whether they wish to do something or nothing.
Questions from the council? Comments from the audience? Jack? Oh, do you have a sub? Okay, I'm sorry. Is Jack the first one? On the slide?
Yes,
Okay,
Jack.
Jack.
He'll come back.
I'll catch you in a minute, John.
These aren't black. Well, first of all, I didn't even know what this was, so that's one reason. What is the cost for? And I guess you just tie it in with the second one. It seems kind of funny. Here we are trying to save money to keep the city running, and I don't think an increase of any kind should be considered regardless of what it is. And until we can figure out how to keep our city going. Figure that out, and we got any money left, then we can consider increases. So that would be on 10-1 and 10-2, or 10-2 and 10-3, right?
John?
Mr. Mayor, distinguished council members and staff, and audience out there. Yes, this was discussed maybe in the past, and we, in spite of having a surplus this year, we're going the right direction, but I really have to agree that right now is not the time to go ahead and have any increases. I'm sure it's deserved, but I think in our current situation, what we need to do is to keep our eye on the ball, let's go ahead and if things get better and continue to get better, then we can go ahead and look at increasing the benefits, which I'm sure are well deserved. But for now, as a resident of the community, I would recommend holding to the line on increasing costs.
Thank you, John. Council comments? Don?
Okay, just in perusing the facts that are listed as far as cities are concerned, we have, where is it? Truckee, which has 16,000 people, and Los Alamitos, which has 11,700, so let's say 12,000, are both in the 1,200 range. Truckee is out in the middle of nowhere, and I can see where they might have to pay a little more just to attract people. I think we offer a very nice place to live. People will live there, here, and good surroundings. We're convenient to a lot of things. I don't think we necessarily need to have a high benefit range in order to attract people. I just don't see, 1,300 to me is higher than many cities that have triple our number of people. So I just, again, which I brought up before, and I agree with you, that I just think this is not the time to be increasing, and I feel 1,300. We want a small increase. I get that. It's nice if you've worked any length of time to know that you're going to get a little increase, but I would say it would have to be a little increase.
Other comments? John?
Truckee's a very nice place. It's kind of the entrance to Squaw Valley and Reno from the California side. Quite a nice spot.
I agree.
And
It's just
okay. Yeah, I was going to do this under my comments, but can I digress to the UUT?
Digress?
We had our finance and administration meeting yesterday, and we took a look at the utility user tax for the fiscal year of 2015-16, pretty much closing out on June 30th with the information. We had budgeted into the 15-16 period an income of $760,000 anticipated in utility tax. What I saw yesterday is that will be pretty close to $1.5 million, so over $245,000 more than we anticipated. And so if we have that same, and we budgeted for this fiscal year, 16-17, a anticipated amount of $950,000 for the utility user tax. So if all things remain the same, and there's really no reason why they shouldn't, that all of the utilities would be used in the same manner as they have for the last 12 months, that we would be back at $1 million, so over $50,000 more than what we budgeted for. We're talking about 26,000. Is that the amount? Is that $26,100? That I understand what you're saying, John and Jack, and I agree about taking a look at that. There's another thing that I take a look at is I respect the employees very much, and we do have some money, and one of the things that we do need to do as a person who was anti-UUT, as many of you know, is spend the money for something other than the fire, because then it's a special tax. We said it's for the city, and it's for our needs, and so this does show that we are spending the money for the people. And I would be in favor of doing this. We got more than we anticipated last year, and we're going to get more than, I believe, more than we're budgeting for this year that would well offset this.
Other comments from the council?
I think it would be nice to put some money back in our coffers if we have extra money. We took a whole bundle out when we were running at a deficit, and it's standard operating procedure, good business procedure to have a savings account. And it's just like reducing the reserves of the POA. You don't know when a catastrophe is going to hit. We really couldn't start our own fire department because we would be taking, and it was feasible, and I still personally feel it would be the best way to go because of the self-control. But we couldn't do it simply because we would have to take all of our reserves for the startup costs. And I think our reserves need to be built up.
And
Go ahead, John.
not to be argumentative, but just the other side of that. When we're talking about the things that we talked about some months ago regarding our fiscal capabilities in the future, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in the fire that could break us. We have $2 million in reserve, but that could all be gone in the next 4 years. But that doesn't have anything to do with $26,000. That's looking at that big part. And I agree we need to put money in reserves. And back when I was on in 2000, we built the reserves up to $5 million. And luckily, since we did that, we were able to use $3 million to keep us from 2008 to this point. So that's good. We need to do that. But I don't think when we're looking at what we have at stake, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. The startup costs could be anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000. To say that the $26,000 would help us, to me, it's not significant. And I think it just goes to show the people that you're working with us, we're working with you, and we're all part of a team. And you're going to help us, and we're going to help you. And so I would still want to do that.
Other comments?
Yes. We don't know if the UT tax will be voted in the next time. There's a very large, well, I don't know if it's a large group, there is a very active group that have already started the naysaying on approving the tax the second time around. If we don't approve that tax, it's just a matter of time before the city will have to dissolve itself. And in doing so, we would have to pay our debt, which is at about $2 million now, I believe.
The PERS debt, depending on the bond issue, can be anywhere between $1 and 1.5 million.
Okay, so $1.5 million. So that reserve, we need to at least keep that amount or more, because of course the amount we owe is going to increase too incrementally. So I don't feel comfortable not knowing what's going to happen in the future with this UUT tax, whether the people will vote for it again or not. I don't feel comfortable spending a whole lot of money on anything. I had somebody ask me the other day, when are you guys going to put up a City of Canyon Lake sign? You know, everybody else got one. And we voted not to spend the money on that because we don't know if we're going to be a city in 2 years.
Well, David, they can't hear you at home, so you shouldn't be talking for the floor. You know that one. But the thing, Dawn, we didn't scrap it. We went back for additional designs and costs. It is
Several
not something
times.
that we said that we were not going to do.
No, we decided at the time that it was a lot of money and we wanted additional designs, and we tabled it. And that's about the third or fourth time, maybe longer, that it's been tabled.
And the city, I think, will be coming back with a design for us in the next month or two.
Okay. But I'm a real conservative when it comes to keeping money in reserves, and particularly with the tenuous position we're in as far as the UUT and not knowing if the people are going to approve it again or not. So my feeling is we need to get as much money back in reserves as possible so that if in fact the people don't approve it, and if in fact we had to disincorporate, we would be able to do it without taxing every citizen several $100s or more in order to pay our debt.
Okay. Question for city manager? This was, if I remember correctly, the $1,300 was included in the budget.
That's correct.
So if we do not do anything, we will have that as a...
It'll be a salary savings. It'll go back to fund balance at the end of the fiscal year, yes.
So when we were just to be clear, when we were looking at that budget number, we were looking at a budget with the 13 in it.
Correct.
What's the current amount?
806.
Benefits? 806?
Yes.
Is that per employee?
Yes, and per employee per month. And I was looking at, typically you tie it to, if you, Kaiser rate is the middle of the road, and Kaiser family rate is approximately $1,550 a month.
The, as I mentioned earlier, my bogey, or my comfort level is around 1125, which was, as best I could determine, the average in private industry that had cafeteria plans. That was, though, with larger companies, 50 or more people. So I don't know what the comparable would be at a lower level. I do know, though, that, medical costs have gone up, and it's not quite fair to employees to not acknowledge that, in my opinion.
I didn't realize it was that low. I would not get an ulcer over increasing it. $1,000, $1,100, I could probably deal with that, particularly since it's in the budget. I think 1,300 is going a little higher than many cities that are well larger than ours.
We have another person from the audience who'd like to say something? Two people. Who's
Ted
first?
Horton.
Mayor and City Council, I guess I'm just up here to urge that we be frugal and fiscally very, very careful until you get a fire station up and running and we in the Longhorn Corridor feel secure once again. And secondly, I do understand that staff needs to be compensated appropriately. Take it in small steps until we get there, until we've got the UUT reapproved again. Until you get that fire station up there, you haven't got a hope, we haven't got a hope of getting a UUT passed again. So that should be your primary focus right now, so that we feel safe. And then we're totally behind keeping this city running.
I agree with you, Ted. Just in a quick response, though, the UUT wouldn't come up for a vote for another 4 years.
You're absolutely correct, but until you get something up and running and proven running, and that's going to take you 3 or 4 years, you're going to have a tough time to get it going, John. That's all I'm saying.
I understand. And I think one of the things that I would hope that this council is doing is that, for your sake and everything, that there will be a fire department open next July in Canyon Lake as the goal.
Is that accurate?
That's my goal, yes, July 1st, yes.
Another speaker?
Because it was brought up for the topic on the sign on the main gate, if we can have a conversation on, or a speaker on that.
We don't do the main gate. Are you talking, did you want to talk about the sign on the main gate? When we were talking about it, it's a sign that's over near the Kenyon Fitness Center and by the church on Railroad Canyon Road. Those are the two signs we're talking about.
All right. Okay. Jack?
I guess I'm a little bit concerned about how is the money that you're talking about with reference to cafeteria, is that spending money for health care
Primarily.
strictly?
Can you give us provide the audience with a general idea of what's within the cafeteria?
Yeah, so the cafeteria amount goes to pay for benefits that are sponsored by the city, so it's medical, dental, vision. And currently, if you look at the family rate, you tie it to Kaiser, so you're looking at the family rate of Kaiser and the dental plan and family vision comes out to be approximately about $1,750 a month.
Okay, if that's strictly for health care, I would reverse my recommendation. That I'm fully supportive of having health care for our employees and you guys, as far as that goes, if you don't have it. But if that's strictly for health care, I got no problem. I think it's worth a gamble. I guess we're not to 10-3, I guess, yet. But on 10-2, I'll change and support the health care. I think it's good for the employees.
John, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, distinguished council members, my understanding is that this is additional money that will go to the employee, based on the family. Let me stand back a minute. I understand that if you have a spouse, that spouse is also entitled to they already are under a plan if they're working. We have employees that are working for us, so we're under an obligation to pay them benefits and proper benefits. But I understand this is additional money that is available. It isn't going to go directly into a plan for insurance. If the spouse is already covered, they may already be covered for both individuals. So what I question is are our employees, do they have spouses that also have plans that are benefiting them? In other words, it doesn't matter.
Not really. This is an employee benefit for the employee to use towards their health coverage. That's what this is. Basically, it is considered a way to reward the employee without giving a raise and everything that is inherent with a raise of actual money. So let's say the employee has.
I didn't realize it was a reward. I thought it was to help the employee with their benefits.
Yes.
Correct.
And
Is the benefit package.
Okay.
Right.
So if their spouse is working, that spouse is also entitled to their benefits. So it's really not an issue over that. It's so much as I am concerned about, and I've heard the concern about putting money into our reserves. You know, I think you're sending a message to the citizens, the residents of Canyon Lake. Either we're going to go ahead and be frugal, and we're going to go ahead and let's not get in the condition that we've been in the last 5-6 years. We spent too much. We have not balanced our budget. We need to focus on that bottom line. Let's go ahead and start putting some of that money aside so we can go ahead and build the reserves. We're doing the same thing that our federal government is doing, the state's doing. Let's not go and spend money that we don't have. Now, a small amount, if you want to, stay up with inflation or whatever, that I can understand that. But if you're going to go from $800 to $1,300, that's a big leap. Yes, that's a large amount of money. And right now, look at our finances. So we're having a good year, but next year and the year after, we should be concerned. And the message that you're sending to the residents is we have the money. Now, the UUT tax is going to come up for another vote in another few years. And if we're going to go ahead and just spend money that we could hold back on, and the message to the residents is we have money, let's go ahead and use it. And even if we don't have it, let's use it. That's not the right message, in my opinion. And this is just me as one of the residents speaking. So I'm sure, there's others out here that should be up here speaking as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
One more thing that hasn't been pointed out in a while, I think it was pointed out the first time, is that if you do show proof of insurance through a spouse, that the amount that you would get would not be the full amount. You would get the single payer rate for equal to Kaiser.
Is that in the proposed ordinance?
That's been changed. That's part of the cash out provision under Chapter 3, Section 2 of the cafeteria benefit policy. Right. Well, first of all, in California, they don't write, it's basically illegal to double dip on medical insurance. You can double dip on dental and vision, but medical, the way they rate the coverages, you can't do it. So once you take it, so if somebody, so we have an employee, so say if my wife worked and I took her plan, then I would not get $13.50 a month. I would get the single payer rate for Kaiser, which I believe is like $460 or $480 a month. And that was what I would get in cash. I would not get the $13.50. But they could take the other round is they could take the full cash and pay for a plan themselves or pay for a plan that the city sponsors. But if they take it through their spouse or that source, then the amount of cash they would get back is a lot less than the $13.50.
Okay, I'm just confused about one. If you're basing it on the single payer rate for Kaiser, that's affected by the age of the person.
No,
So-
it's not, because we're in PERS Health. So the rates are set.
Okay.
We don't have banding. PERS Health doesn't have banding. It's all straight numbers. It's employee plus one, employee plus two or more.
Okay, I sure remember Kaiser being higher than that on PERS for, are you sure that it's only $400 for a single?
I believe, it's about $460 or $480 a month.
Okay. Surprised.
I'd have
Okay.
to check, but I want to
That's
say
all
it could be the mid to.
I believe you. Well, I've said my piece. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consideration for the cafeteria benefit with the increased cafeteria benefit contribution.
Two? The full amount
The proposal
proposed?
that they're giving.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, I think that motion dies. Is there any other motions on the table?
I move that we approve an increased amount to $1,100 per person, or however unit, I don't know what you call it.
It'd be per person per month.
Okay.
I would second
Per
that.
employee.
It's been moved and seconded to accept cafeteria benefit $1,100 per month per employee.
Roll call?
Roll call? Or is discussion?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Probably not going to hear this ever again. I agree with John Zeitz about the fact that we do need to take some of this money and start putting it into running our city. We've run very, very lean for a long time, and there are things that are going to be catching up with us. That we are going to be needing to put money into various projects that we haven't been contributing to, and money does need to be spent on the city. That said, this has a twofold, this is an incentive of sorts. We are a small city, and we do need to run better than we have. We have a city manager that seems to be benefiting us so far. Watch it. He's been here since February, right? So we're at a 6-month mark, is that right?
5.
5?
It's
Ooh,
5.
Yeah, but who's counting?
Feels like years. So there is that we do have to consider, that we do have to start spending some money on the city. And I will support the amended motion to bring it down to the 1,100.
Mr. Mayor, I won't, I'll vote no on this, and, you know, to me, it's somewhat ridiculous. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Guzman, about saving money, so we're going to go ahead and spend money, but not the right amount of money. So we're going to save $200. You know, where do we go? You know, that, as I tried to say earlier, you know, the employees are part of a team, and so, you know, you're part of that team. We'll give you a little bit, but not really where you should be. And so, you know, it'll probably obviously pass, but just as a protest that if we're going to spend money, let's do it the right way.
Okay, other comments?
John said 200. Well, that's 200 a month times the number of employees, and then you add to it their spouses or their children or whoever else is on the coverage, and it does add up. And frankly, I am very happy that we have cut and we've been frugal, and I think we need to continue it. I don't think just because we are 150,000 of the good this year, we go, whoopee, now we can spend money. I think we are spending money where it's needed. We are going to have to spend more when we get our fire department settled, and then we look at a police department. We are going to have to pay increases. It's just the way it is. And I think we need to be very careful in our spending, allowing for those increases, put it where the people can really see it and feel it. And the corridor Longhorn is one of those. We get Station 60 open, we get good fire coverage, we get more than one deputy on duty at a time, so that if you have a burglar, you don't have to wait for him to come from Paris to run the guy out. I think those are the places the money needs to go so that the people will approve the tax they get. Down the road, we get our reserves built up. We get a little more comfortable, then we can, and we know how much the public safety is going to cost us, then we can start looking at other ways to increase staff costs and whatever else needs to be done.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we've had a motion on the table, comments completed, no one else wants to say anything in the audience. I guess it's time to vote. Can I get a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Haggerty?
Yes.
Councilmember Warren?
No.
Councilmember Zeitz?
No.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, I guess the motion doesn't pass. Okay, moving on.
Can I make a motion that we put this on the agenda for possibly a mid-month additional meeting or later, so when Jordan's here, so that we can have a vote again, because we're just in limbo here.
Unfortunately, you made the motion and you lost, and therefore you cannot make a motion again on the subject. The losing party cannot make a motion on this.
To put the same.
If the council so chooses, if you were to choose to put it on a future agenda, that's your prerogative to do so.
Now, Vicki and I could do that.
All right, one of us could do
Well, that would be,
And that's, just so you, just so to clarify, I did not, I changed my mind as I thought and reconsidered. I was going to support it, and I'm sorry, Aaron, but there are reasons that I've received emails, I've received phone calls, and taking other things into consideration, I did change my mind at the last minute. But I'm allowed to do that, because that's where I sit on the council, and I vote the way that I believe that people who voted me in would prefer that I vote. And so I had to rethink.
But since I was on the prevailing side, Dawn, I would ask that it be put on the agenda again in 30 days, the next meeting. It's just I think it's a procedural thing that you just can't.
Is there a reason we're bringing it back? Well, because we're not approving it, so it stays like it is. If it's not.
Could I make a suggestion?
yes.
If you want to bring this back on the agenda, this is the third time it's been on. You might be beating a dead horse here, and I don't think it's necessarily good for employees to be that horse. Why don't you put this on the list of things that the council, whomever may be on it, looks at for a mid-year budget adjustment? And take a look at where you are fiscally and see if you feel more comfortable or less comfortable. It's just an idea.
I personally like that idea. Bring it up after the new council's on there, and I don't have to worry about it.
We won't talk. I won't have to speak, no. I'm not running, so I won't be there for the mid-year. No, I'm done. I'm through. I am.
Well, if it goes, oh, that's right, that wouldn't go on the agenda until January.
Well, the mid-year budget normally is in April, you know. Is it, Randy? It's 3 months before you get to come out with the budget. We do the mid-year budget.
It's like creating an incentive for mid-year.
Can we table this until I'm gone?
We'll bring it back at mid-year.
Okay. Okay, I believe we've kicked that one as much as we can today.
This one's going to be fun.
Well, this is, okay. Next one, would you prefer I would prefer I jump into this next one since,
Before you begin this next item, I need to correct my math.
yeah, I know you do.
Yes, I do. I got an email from Travis Montgomery, who pointed out that my math was wrong, and although I was annoyed by the email, he was right. So I am correcting the amount. If you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth paragraph down on page 2, the amount of money is not $130, it's $390, because it's $15 every year for 26 years. That means that were the council, as a hypothetical, to vote for the next council to receive the full increase, your stipend would go from $300 to $690, not to $430. And thereafter, it could go up by $15 a year. What you can't do is cumulate. You can only do 5% of your original amount per year.
No compounding, eh?
No compounding. Well, it's an AG opinion, and so, yeah.
Sure.
No compounding.
Madam Attorney, I always understood that if you ask an attorney what 1 + 1 is, the answer from the attorney is whatever you want it to be.
That's the accountants. Okay. I'd just like to say that in my time of being here, I appreciate the $300 a month token that I've gotten. It's nice. But I've talked to everybody else out there, and it appears all the rest of the council are getting a few more dollars, mainly in terms of having benefits, and we do not have any benefits on this council. That being said, we attend a lot of meetings, do a lot of work. I figure I'm making about $3 an hour at this job, and I think that even a token note of appreciation, keeping it at $300 forever, it'd be nice to acknowledge that this body deserves a little bit more than subpar minimum wage in Peru or something. So I would think that any kind of token increase for the next council, which I'm not going to be part of, is justified and would keep us out of the lowest paid in the entire Southern California League.
Yes. I didn't run for the city council considering it was a paid job. I was very surprised when I found out I got $300 a month. Yeah, because I spent 6 years on the POA, and I can tell you, it's more work than this, and I can tell you that. And that was free. So this was a very nice surprise. I appreciate Tim's bringing this up, and I appreciate his motive. I think it's very benevolent. But just me personally, I didn't run for this office to get paid. I ran because I felt there was something I could contribute. And so I really don't, with the city in the position it's in, might not even be around in another after 4 years. Well, it'd have to be less than that because it takes a year or two to disincorporate. So hopefully we'll be around. I would promote that. But I just feel that this is a little bonus, and I'm happy with it, and I don't see any reason to increase it.
Other council comments?
Just a quick one. I agree with Dawn, and I got an email, and I won't say it's from Jack. I won't say it's from you, Jack, but that said I should get paid when I'm worth, and I owe $50 a month to the city. So I think I should stay with the 300.
You're ahead.
That was good, John.
And we are going to have an amnesty program coming in for water heater people that put them in by themselves, just in case. So.
I had a professional do it.
Do we have other comments from the council? Does anybody, I don't think we need to beat this up a lot. Does anybody want to make a motion here?
I have two speakers.
Oh, speakers, go ahead.
Ted Horton.
Oh,
Council, I guess I'm just going to repeat myself essentially, that the timing is wrong. There's no question about what everybody needs. Certainly, staff needs a bump, you guys need a bump. I know it's a lot of work. It's just the wrong time.
Jack.
Jack? Sorry.
When are you going to start paying your 50? No, I think Ted's right. I think, you know, having served on the council a couple of times, you know, you spend a lot of time. You certainly don't get paid what you're worth. But I just think it's the wrong time for you to do something like that. And I did vote for the health care. I think it's important for the people. Health care is really bad nowadays, and then the cost-wise. But one of the things where you can cut down is the number of people going to the meeting. Sometimes, like I know when I was in the council, when we first started, we didn't have any money. We'd only send one person to Sacramento. We didn't send the whole group. And I know there are times that, for instance, myself, I would never go to a league city meeting unless it was in our district, where I felt I could actually accomplish something. I didn't go to Long Beach, or I didn't go to that. I didn't charge the city for that. And there's a way to cut down on the time that you're putting in for the city. So I would think it's the wrong time for you to give yourself an increase.
I'd like to say that I think that this council has been very frugal, for instance, in approach towards conferences. You know, we could have all been going to the League of California Cities Conference and spent, you know, a few $1,000s each there. And the way it's done, we've, out of frugality and, you know, we're minimizing our expenses there, each of us are. And I think that it would be a mistake to leave the impression that we're not really trying to save every little dollar we can spend.
Well, Mr. Mayor, for the sake of it, I'll make a motion so there won't be a second, so we can just move on. I move we approve.
You move we approve? Approve what?
The increase.
The full increase?
Yeah, full increase.
No, I can't do that, John.
Well, I'm not going to get a second. It doesn't make any difference.
All right. Okay, no second. We'll move on.
There you go. That would
Mr. Mayor, before you go to 10.4, did you want to consider reopening public comments so that the nice man in the boat shirt could make his comment about the gate? I think he may have missed
POA.
public comments. Oh,
That's
it's,
POA.
okay.
I think you want to talk about the POA sign, not our sign.
Okay, so
You're
not,
okay?
no, okay.
Okay, moving on to 10.4. I think that's a ministerial matter more than anything else. There was a motion, no second. Motion failed for lack of a second. I think we can wrap this one up pretty fast. In the interest of saving money, I'm not going to be here next year, so I didn't want to spend all the money to go to Long Beach, so I was going to go for a day. Don will be there, so. Friday. So I would recommend that we make her the voting delegate with.
We did that.
Jordan. Oh, we did.
Yeah, 10.4 is the support for AB 1217
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
JPA.
God, missed the total.
And so that can be quick as well. If the council would like to just support, we can send our logo off and whatever letter.
I move approval that we let the city manager use our logo as needed.
Yes.
For opposition to this.
Yeah, to oppose, yes, in opposition of AB 1217. Yes.
Been moved to second. Moved and seconded to
That can be.
oppose that and do all that stuff. Okay. Comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, so Jack, the League of Cities has come out to oppose AB Assembly Bill 1217, which basically Sacramento is trying to strip down JPA rights. And so the big culprit right now is they're going after Orange County Fire Authority and trying to eliminate, they think they have too many board members. Just because every full member of the fire authority is a voting member, and so they're trying to strip those rights and dictate basically who can be on the board and who can't. Right, and so they're trying to limit the ability to form, for local governments to form JPAs for necessary governmental activities. Yeah. And so therefore, that's why, the fire authority is coming out and the league is supporting them on that. And so they're asking for the member cities for supporting the opposition of that. Yeah.
Been moved and seconded to voice our opposition. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we've got, do we need to have a roll call because it requires a 4/5? No, that was
just to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
That's a simple majority.
That being said, we're moving on to comments, I believe. City manager comments?
Just a couple of things. I wanted to introduce, most of you have met Mike Borja. He's our new administrative services manager. He's got over 10 years of public sector experience, and so I'm thrilled that he decided to come here and help me. So I look forward to that. We've already got him on a bunch of projects. And real quick, I wanted Lieutenant Q to come up real quick and just give just a real brief about 4th of July. And I know there have been some questions about the big ruckus that had happened. And so, yeah, so he's going to give a quick report on that, and then my comments are done.
Mayor, Council, thank you for a few minutes of your day. City manager asked me to come and discuss 4th of July. Some of that was discussed in your public safety. But for the most part, talking to the sergeant that was working that weekend, Saturday, Sunday was relatively not as bad. A couple what we call drunken publics arrests were made, a DUI as well. But 4th of July on Monday became a little problematic. How we deployed from last year to this year was similar, in a sense that we had an after-action report from last year that was solid. Every year it changes. We had a focus on the campground, or the RVs park at one point that was problematic there. Now, this year it turned out to be the Holiday Harbor. Right around midday, security gives us the police department a call saying, there's looking like individuals are getting into arguments, turning into potential physical fights. Deputies respond. We get there, we make contact with a variety of people, arrest 2 people for drunken public. We immediately leave the area. 5 minutes later, we get a call back saying we have numerous altercations in the park. We get there, we see a lot of people going at it. So in the interim, we're calling other deputies from other areas within Canyon Lake that were here deployed. Sergeant gets there, he sees several subjects going at it. He goes in with another deputy, starts separating, make sure nobody else gets hurt. A lot of what we call mutual combat. When 2 guys go at it, pushing, shoving, punching, if they don't want to prosecute each other, no one goes to jail on that. However, if they're drunk in public and they can't take care of themselves, we make arrest. My deputy, actually my sergeant, when he went into the middle of the melee, beer was thrown on him. His uniform was torn up a little bit. Some young lady decided to, my sergeant's pretty big, decided to push him, and she was about this high. So she was arrested for obstructing. And from the melee there, we arrested 4 people. From that, with the presence of people are going to go to jail, it simmered down. Later on that evening, we ended up having a DUI collision later on in the evening, so that subject was arrested. A collision report was taken, as well as we had a domestic violence, 9 times out of 10 from the drinking. The next year's deployment is going to change a little bit. same amount of staffing. However, every time we have a deputy, he has to go to jail, that's one deputy out. So we're gonna try and configure a better solution with that, in a sense, maybe having a van at the Bluebird. But this is all something that I've been discussing with the POA and the city, and then we can go from there. So if we start showing a presence, that's been my goal for the last 3 years. On some of these events, I see, wow, a lot of alcohol consumption. It could really blow up. I was there when the Temecula riots occurred at Broad Run many years ago. Came with a heavy presence. Now it all simmers down, so. That was a lot of misdemeanor arrests, with the exception of the DUI and the domestic violence.
Any idea of whether these people were residents or not residents, or?
See, it was half and half.
Half and half, okay.
Obviously, the golf cart was here, domestic violence was here, but it's half and half. There were people coming in.
Okay, I'd just like to say, too, that if you do bring the paddy wagon in, it'd be kind of nice to let people know, that scare the heck out of them before they decide to get in a fight.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a heavy presence, and people are going to say, "What's that?"
Okay.
And I'll tell my sergeant to tell people.
Okay. John?
We have a jail bus, but that's really big.
Just a comment, Q. Travis Montgomery sent out an email, and he also put something in letters to the editor about getting blue lights. And I went to Joe's Hardware and got a blue light for my house, and blue lights and blue people matter. And we haven't said that as a group or as individuals, that we appreciate you and your people, for everything you do for us, for the 4th of July, for Fiesta Days, and just every day-to-day thing that Blue Lives Matter, and so that's on my house now. And I hope everybody else follows what Travis put out there and get a blue light for your house.
Thank you very much, Councilman. It's the moment is kind of heart-wrenching right now, because everybody's going to go to the funeral on Friday for the San Diego PD officer. So it's kind of bittersweet. I've been to too many of those, and it's just a bad thing all the way around. I hope I never go to another one again, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Oh, I just said thank you.
I thought you said Lieutenant.
No, I did, but thank you, Lieutenant. Okay, are we done with? Go ahead.
Do we have a list of, the window closes Friday for
Yes.
candidates?
Next Friday, the 12th, at noon.
Oh, okay.
And then at that point, it will be extended until Wednesday at noon,
Okay.
17th.
Oh,
We
okay.
can't, just because we know people aren't running, we can't do anything until it actually closes for the extension. Right.
Okay. Do we know, can we share a list of people? No? Okay.
I'm sorry. Wait, you wanted to know if people had taken out papers? Yeah, it's public information if people want to know who's taken out papers, isn't it?
Who's taken out papers already?
Well, it's just the question of, is that public information or not? Not that I'm going to ask the question. Not public information, okay.
It would be if they brought them back, though, wouldn't it?
Well, there will be they bring them back. At the time the filing period closes, you'll have a list of
Okay. So people won't know until
Till it closes,
Till it
correct.
closes.
But sometimes people who are interested in running come to council meetings and sit in the front row.
I understand that.
And they talk while we're talking.
Okay. We're ready to move on to council people's comments. Okay. John, you're up.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Go down this way.
I didn't have a lot of meetings this month. They were all very quick. Nancy took care of all of my water issues that I was going to talk about. Otherwise, I have meetings coming up in the next week or so, and I'll report on those next time.
John.
Okay, I mentioned at the last meeting, and just want to update you a little bit on RTA. And we talked about the 25-cent fare, and we haven't really given this a lot of publicity. It's on our Facebook and stuff, but just want to say it again because people may be watching tonight at this hour, that high school students and below can ride an RTA bus for a box fare of 25 cents per ride, which means that you could ride from here down to Murrieta, get on the bus, and that's 25 cents, get on the bus there and go to Oceanside for 25 cents, and coming back, same thing. So for $1, kids can do it. And first week was 300. Last week, there were 1,700 trips during that week to Oceanside. And it's a thing that the RTA is doing because of school being out. The students at colleges and high schools and stuff aren't riding the buses, so they have empty capacity. So to fill the capacity, they decided to go with this 25-cent fare, to make 25 cents instead of having an empty seat. So it's a great thing, and you know, we still have another month of that, so if some of the kids want to do that, they can get on it. And one of the things for us older people, we can get on that and go to the station there in Oceanside, get the red car down to Del Mar and go to the track. And if you're going to go, call me, I'll go with you.
Talk about the veterans also. The veterans, no charge.
Oh, there's a brochure that I gave to the city too, that veterans going to Loma Linda can take the bus, and it starts in Murrieta, and can ride for free. And the time that it starts in the morning and comes back in the afternoon allows for the tremendous amount of time that the veterans have to spend at the hospital. But it's a free trip. RTA will take the veterans there. Oh, damn it. I didn't write down the date. Darn it. What did you say, sir? But I didn't write it down, but Assemblyman Melendez is having a veterans thing at the Elks Club. I wrote it down and I don't have it. And there's free bus riding to there, but if you know a veteran that needs to have some help or just wants to talk to some people, go to the Elks Club for Melissa Melendez's veterans thing there. There are going to be hundreds of people there, and so that's. But they can take the bus, and we have some information at City Hall. If not, I'll get it for them and get it to whoever needs information for a veteran to get on the bus to go to the Veterans Hospital in Loma Linda.
Would be a big inconvenience to put that on our Facebook site, just so that people have that information?
No, we can post that.
Thank you.
I'd like to also add to that, at my RCTC meeting, it was discussed, we received a very well-written letter from a quite elderly lady who had to take her husband via bus to the Veterans Hospital. And she described that where the bus stopped, it was quite an arduous trip down the hill and then back up to the Veterans Hospital. And the RCTC is changing the bus stop so that it will stop directly across from the Veterans Hospital to make it easier for the veterans to be able to ingress and egress. So just FYI.
To get to the Veterans Hospital, that bridge from the upper level is straight across, and then you can take the elevator.
Elevator, yeah. Yeah, they're doing everything they can to make it as easy as possible for the veterans to have access to the hospital with the least amount of problems. We have a great transportation commission and agency in Riverside. I think we're very fortunate. I think we probably have one of the best in the state.
You're up, Don?
Oh, all right, since I'm talking anyway. I attended the RCTC meeting. That was one of the things we discussed. I also attended their budget meeting, which is a smaller group that discuss where they're going to spend and what they're going to spend it on. And I keep pushing for more repairs to our local roads. That is an issue that is being addressed. They're finding funds to go towards that in spite of Governor Brown and in spite of our legislature. The pickup and delivery for people who are elderly and do not drive and need to go to the doctor, or veterans that need rides to the doctor that can't get to a bus, they are providing free transportation. You can call the County Transportation Commission and they will provide the information so that people can get free pickup and delivery for their needs, their health needs. And what else? Oh, and then I attended a special meeting, which I can't discuss. It was legal issues I can't discuss, but part of it's come out in the paper that RCTC has dropped its lawsuit against Moreno Valley because the developer has agreed to put a healthy amount of money into some repairs on the roads in that area. So they were very worthwhile meetings. That's it.
I just want to add one thing real quick. I believe the date for the veterans thing is August the 20th. So if anybody out there is interested and want to double check, we will check, and you can call the city, okay? Call the city and verify that. I'll do the checking tomorrow, and so you can call the city and make sure that it is August the 20th. But the city will have that information.
Okay. Nothing serious to report from RCA. I did meet with the developers who are envisioning developing that parcel next to the BLM land out there, and there was a discussion had here with them. If the city council so wishes, he's volunteered to make a presentation to the council on what the plans for that property are and what's been proposed. Yes, this is the Lake Elsinore property. So if you would like to hear that, we can have him come in. Is that, can that be arranged? You want to call that? Okay, so it's some future council meeting. I remain very skeptical, and I'm also very concerned about the plans for access from the equestrian center to the BLM West property, how that's going to happen. So if I happen to not be here when that discussion occurs, I hope somebody will bring it up. Okay. Additionally, I've talked to Aaron about having a forum, for lack of a better word, with people who are interested in running for city council, where they would have 15, 20 minutes to meet with us individually so we could tell them about what goes on that's not apparent, so that have a little bit of a basis so they don't walk in here not knowing what all those committees and everything might be. So without objection, I think that we can put that together sometime in September, we talked about.
Yes, correct. We would do something like that in September.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest, I don't know why it would have to be individually if they are learning the process and the progress and all the things going, why does it have to be
Brown
individual?
Act things again. Yeah, Brown Act issues. Yeah. Yeah. Probably easier just all of us have 15
Why
minutes.
don't we just call a special meeting?
Well, we could, but it's up to you guys what you want to do.
That way the public could come.
Well, the public can come to any of them that have to be open to the public. It's just that what I envisioned is the candidates could talk to each individual council member so we don't run into Brown Act violations, and then have us.
I don't see the point in each candidate talking to each city council person. I mean, what is
What I
one guy-
envisioned is the group of candidates could talk to each individual council person.
What is one
surreal.
going to provide that another one is not?
What's that?
I don't see a point in having individual council people or two council people meet. I mean, unless you just have two and that's it. Having them meet with two, and one
Well,
is,
I think each of us has different experiences of what it means to be on the council. And I think that it's nice, if nothing else, for the people that are running for office to know what they're walking into, you know?
I can make a suggestion that maybe the meeting, and we schedule it as a workshop, therefore there is no voting responsibility, and then it's more of a give and take. They can ask questions, you can respond back.
That's
We can schedule it as a workshop.
fine, whatever, as long as we're legal.
Right, yeah, and so, if nobody shows up, then that'll be that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
So without objection. Also, I think the WRCOG's issues, I know that Jordan's not here, but is there any update on all that falderall that's going on with WRCOG's and Hero and?
I was at the meeting.
Oh,
Were you?
were you? Anything?
There wasn't, I'm not, I know what I think you're talking about is that the concern, you mean for the property rights?
No,
That
I'm
issue?
talking about there was some scandal with the Hero program.
With a builder, and they sent out an email
Right.
to
Oh,
everybody.
yeah, that was, they're trying to get information from this person who sent this email and trying to find out who is he and where does he come from. They have some ideas that possibly it was a plant. It's hard for you guys to know what we're talking about. An email was sent by a citizen that they're trying to still identify, maligning the Hero program, saying that there are certain problems with it. The powers that be have gone through all of those and have answered all those questions. And like I said, the investigation is geared towards who is this person and why are you asking this and how can we help you? And they have been approached. I don't know that there's been any resolution. The last I knew, the person hadn't responded to any of the offers of help, offers of,
Is there any credibility to the allegations that you know?
no, not as far as, they covered them all very clearly and there was no credibility at all that we could see.
Okay.
So it's just, there's going to be people out there that are going to take apart anything.
Okay. I would give you a report on Vector, but nobody can take Jordan's place on that, so.
Nobody cares.
No.
anyway.
Any other business? I think we're done.